So a couple of NFL holdouts are only getting worse, with one that was thought to have some progress taking a rather not great turn, as said player literally left the state after things reportedly got heated. Meanwhile, another player, even after straight up being disrespected, did show up to camp, but made it clear it was not for his coaches or the ownership. Well, it's safe to say things are heating up all around the NFL as we get closer to the season, so I'll break all that down, talk about a pretty unexpected retirement, and so much more right after. Alright, there's a lot to get into in today's video because training camps are officially in motion as 26 of the 32 teams have reported to camp as of today, and by tomorrow, the Steelers and Falcons will be the only two teams yet to report. With that being the case, we're starting to see a lot of news trickle in, including updates on players that are negotiating new contracts. One of those players being Rams running back Kyren Williams. Kyren did report to training camp today, but Ian Rapoport said he could be a guy that stages a hold in as he looks for a new deal. However, Kyren himself shut that down immediately because he was scheduled to speak with the media today, and when asked if he planned on practicing or not, he said he'll be at full go even without a new deal. Sean McVay spoke about an extension for Williams earlier this offseason, saying that progress has been made, but obviously it takes time to iron out the details. Williams was a 5th-round pick back in 2022 and worked his way to the starting role in 2023. Despite playing in just 12 games that year, he still finished with over 1,100 yards and 12 touchdowns. Then, he followed that up by rushing for nearly 1,300 yards and 14 touchdowns last season. On top of that, Williams is one of their better pass-blocking backs in the league, which is exactly why he played over 81% of the team's snaps on offense last year. He's a true workhorse back, and while I doubt he gets anywhere close to the $20 million a year Saquon Barkley is making, I wouldn't be surprised to see him as a top 10, maybe even top 5 highest paid back once all is said and done. And while talking about the Rams, Matt Stafford is reportedly dealing with some back soreness, and the team plans on modifying his workouts with him beginning camp off to the side, working with trainers. Sean McVay said he doesn't expect it to be a major issue, and Stafford is 37 after all, so I think they're just taking some extra precautions. Worth monitoring for sure, but probably nothing to be too concerned about. Now, aside from Kyren Williams, another player deep in contract talks is wide receiver Terry McLaurin, who's been holding out as he's entering the final year of his contract with the Commanders. Well, with Washington's camp starting today, Terry is nowhere in sight and is perfectly content with continuing his holdout. GM Adam Peters told the media that the two sides have had communication saying, "We're having some good conversations and we'll continue to." Well, hopefully those conversations lead to a new deal getting signed sooner rather than later. After all, you have your quarterback, a franchise quarterback at that, on their rookie deal, so build as much talent around him and keep them there. Plus, as a 6-year vet, is it the biggest deal in the world if Terry misses some or even all of training camp? Probably not, but with so much roster turnover from year to year, it is good for these guys to have as much time as possible to get familiar with each other, and for McLaurin to build even more upon the season prior. I'm sure the team wants to see how he and Deebo Samuel look together on offense as well, but until a deal is done, it doesn't look like that's going to happen. The same goes for Bengals edge rusher Trey Hendrickson. Buckle up, because yesterday Ian Rapoport shared that the Bengals have made several offers to Trey, including a recent one over the last few days. Bengals owner Mike Brown even said yesterday that he does think a deal will get done, so by all means it appeared like things were at least moving in the right direction. Well, not so fast, because early this morning, Rap Sheet reported that extension talks between the two sides broke down over guaranteed money before camp, and Trey himself posted this to his Instagram, a picture of him cruising down the highway with Florida, his home state, set as the location. Adam Schefter spoke with Hendrickson yesterday, and Trey seemed just fine with not playing the entire 2025 season if that's what it came to. Jeez Louise. Jordan Schultz had multiple sources describe this last round of talks between Hendrickson and the Bengals as very contentious, with talks hitting a major impasse Monday. So basically, it is a show right now between the Hendrickson and Shamar Stewart situation. Things are certainly looking rough for Cincy right now. In regards to their first-round rookie Shamar Stewart, it's worth noting that he is now just one of two rookies that has yet to sign their contracts, Quinshawn Judkins being the other, and he's facing domestic violence charges, which is a whole other story in and of itself. But for the Bengals, who knows when or even if these matters get resolved. Either way, it's a tough look for a team that's gone 0-2 to begin each of the last 3 seasons and is hoping for a faster start this year, as well as a team that basically went nuclear on offense while their defense struggled. not having Trey Hendrickson around or their first-round draft pick that's also on the D-line, that's going to be trouble. Enough of that team, though. Let's switch some gears. Another defender that people have been keeping an eye on is Micah Parsons. Despite being in contract negotiations while heading into the final year of his rookie deal, Micah did show up to the Cowboys' offseason workouts, even participating in some on-the-field drills. He's been pretty candid in various interviews and podcast appearances, making it clear that yes, he does want a new deal, but he doesn't want to hinder the team's success by holding out. Well, he seemed to remain true to his word, reporting to camp yesterday out in Oxford, California, with practices actually starting today. People were then wondering if he would engage in a hold-in and not actually practice until an extension is signed. Well, he could be seen holding a tackling dummy during drills for his teammates, so he is participating, sort of. Then during team drills, he was seen doing cardio, running back and forth on the field, and he has been observing drills but has not participated. Well, the fact that he's there at all is impressive to me, especially considering what Jerry Jones had to say about him yesterday. But before I get to what Jerry Jones actually said, Micah Parsons did speak with the media after practice, and he did say, hey, he's discouraged by how long his contract extension is taking. He's seeing other people paid. Yeah, we know all that. But then he did say he's not doing this for his coaches. He's not doing this for Jerry Jones, talking about showing up to practice and participating even in a limited capacity. He's doing it for his teammates. And he did say in this interview that he doesn't take it personal, but he just doesn't understand. Well, that is the way of Jerry Jones not really understanding a lot of what he says. So let's get into what he said yesterday and why I do applaud Micah Parsons for even showing up.
Just because we sign him doesn't mean we're going to have him. He was hurt 6 games last year. Seriously.
Well, no, not seriously. It was actually 4 games rather than 6. And yeah, Jerry, it's the NFL. Injuries happen. That's always the risk you take when giving out contracts. But it's not like we're talking about a guy who has had season-ending injury after season-ending injury or anything even close to that. Prior to last year, Micah missed only 1 game in his entire career, and it was during his rookie season when he had COVID and was placed on the reserve list for a week. To have injuries be your excuse as to why you're not paying him is frankly laughable, but sadly an on-brand thing for somebody like Jerry Jones to say. Shoot, Dak Prescott, for whatever reason, even caught a stray from Jerry during that presser.
We've signed, I remember signing a player for the highest paid at the position in the league, and he got knocked out 2/3 of the year.
Micah caught wind of this as well because he reposted this from J.J. Watt, who had this to say, quote, anytime you can publicly take a dig at your star quarterback and your star pass rusher simultaneously right before the season begins, you just got to take it. Joking, obviously, he said, quote, nothing makes guys want to fight for you more than hearing how upset you are that they got hurt while fighting for you. Yeah, pretty ignorant on Jerry's part, not sure what he's trying to accomplish with those answers. It kind of takes me back to April when Jerry disrespected Micah's agent, David Mulugeta, saying publicly that he doesn't even know who he is despite striking multiple deals with him before, as he's represented several Cowboys in the past. You would think Jerry would want to stop playing games and get a deal done quickly because we've already seen the edge market skyrocket with all those guys you see here getting massive new deals this offseason. Plus, the defense already has some question marks with Stefon Diggs and DeMarvion Overshown being placed on the PUP list yesterday. That was to be expected for both players, but there's a chance that Overshown could miss the entire 2025 NFL season as he's coming back from a torn ACL and MCL. That's part of the reason why they went out and signed pass rusher James Houston today, a guy who had 8 sacks during his rookie season with the Lions in 2022, but just 1 sack in 13 games since. Injuries had a lot to do with that, though, so the Cowboys are hoping he can stay healthy and provide them with some depth. But you guys got to let me know your take on this whole situation down in the comments below. Do you think a deal will get done with Micah soon? And if so, will he top TJ Watt as the highest paid non-quarterback in the NFL? And also let me know what you think of Micah still showing up in spite of what Jerry Jones said about him the day prior. Now, an edge rusher who did sign a new deal today was Ogbo Okoronkwo, who joined the Eagles around lunchtime. This will be his 4th team since being drafted by the Rams back in 2018, as he was most recently with the Browns for the past 2 seasons. In total, Okoronkwo tallied up 17 career sacks, with 7.5 of those coming during his time in Cleveland. He'll add to what is already a solid D-line in Philly, although they did take a couple of hits this offseason, losing Josh Sweat and Milton Williams in free agency. Next up, the Patriots got some good news today regarding their new wide receiver 1. Stefon Diggs has officially been fully cleared, which means he'll be a full participant in camp and is on track to suit up for week 1. Diggs tore his ACL in late October, so roughly 9 months ago, and when New England signed him in free agency, it wasn't a foregone conclusion that he would be 100% ready for the start of the season, but this is pretty good news here, especially for Drake May, who will have all of training camp to get accustomed to his new top target. Diggs didn't make the greatest first impression in the world in New England with the whole pink substance on a boat thing, but it seems like both he and the team are moving on from that with no suspension coming down the pipe or anything like that, at least from what I can tell. So we'll see if Diggs can return to his former self after the injury, something that does make me nervous considering he'll turn 32 years old in November. But even last year at the age of 30, he caught nearly 50 passes for almost 500 yards and 8 touchdowns in what was considered a crowded wide receiver room at the time. And then something else happened today that was pretty surprising, and that is Tyrann Mathieu, the Honey Badger himself, announcing his retirement from the NFL after 12 seasons. He put out an entire statement on his Instagram saying he's hanging up the cleats and filled with gratitude as he closes this chapter of his life. And in case you're sitting there like, well, that's pretty surprising. Yeah, it is. In fact, it was even surprising to the Saints GM, Mickey Loomis. He said the team was a little surprised by Tyrann Mathieu's retirement. The team just found out in the last few days. I just wish him all the best, and now they are looking to potentially add a safety. Well, what's crazy about this is now the second player, at least off the top of my head, that is unexpectedly retired, with the first being their quarterback, Derek Carr. So you're now down a quarterback, with the quarterback room looking insane. Tyler Shuck could potentially be the starter, as he recently got his fully guaranteed deal as a second-round draft pick. But then outside of that, I don't really know. So you have the unexpected retirement of Carr and the unexpected retirement of Tyrann Mathieu. Fantastic career. Huge fan of Tyrann, obviously, as a Chiefs fan, but I am glad that the Saints went ahead and signed Justin Reid to that 3-year deal in the offseason, because boy, is he going to come in clutch now without Tyrann Mathieu around. Next up, we've got to talk about the 49ers and, in particular, their offense, because there are a lot of storylines to watch from that side of the ball. First, there's good news and bad news when it comes to the receiving room. The bad news is that John Lynch told the media today that they aren't anywhere close to having a concrete timeline for Brandon Ayuk's return. That's not ideal, considering he tore his ACL and MCL a week before Stefon Diggs did and still isn't close to returning. Meanwhile, Diggs has already been fully cleared. I do think Ayuk's injury was more serious, but you've got to imagine the team was hoping that at least have some sort of a timeline by now. The 4-year, $120 million deal he signed last offseason is starting to look a little scary, but hopefully he's able to come back fully healthy sooner rather than later. Now, the good news when it comes to the wide receiver injuries for the Niners is that according to head coach Kyle Shanahan, Ricky Pearsall could be back and ready to go in a matter of a few days. Pearsall has been on the PUP list with a hamstring injury, and it wasn't really clear how much time he would miss, and considering he's been dealing with this hamstring injury for at least a couple months now, I was concerned this could be a much more serious injury. So, crisis averted, I think. That's some great news, and on top of that, both running back Christian McCaffrey and staple left tackle Trent Williams are present at camp and fully healthy. Shanahan did say that both of their workloads would be managed, though, as Trent is coming off of an ankle injury and CMC is working back from a torn PCL he suffered late last season, and then even prior to that, he was dealing with the Achilles issues in both legs. Now, both players are crucial to the team's success, and that's why having them back in the mix is a huge plus. Another huge plus is the fact that Jawan Jennings has reported to camp and is expected to practice tomorrow. Going back to last week, it was reported that Jennings either wanted a new deal or wanted to be traded to a team that would give him one if one didn't get done by the start of camp. So we were kind of waiting to see what would happen with that and if he would show up to camp or not, but sure enough, he has, and it is worth noting that in the midst of all that, Kyle Shanahan said today that Jawan has not formally requested a trade. So we'll see where things stand moving forward, but for now, he is in the building, as are the other guys I mentioned, which is some positive news for the Niners. Anyway, that's all for today, and with that, I'll see y'all next time.